Hello everyone, welcome to this session on AWS certification. Today in this session, I will tell you guys which certification to choose if you are from a particular background, right? So you can expect by the end of this session that you will know which certification is exactly for you. So without wasting any time, let's go ahead and start off with this session with the first topic, which is why should you go ahead and choose AWS certifications. So guys, you choose AWS certifications for better job prospects in the AWS domain. So whenever you have, let's say you're working in the IT industry and you know AWS till some extent, but getting an AWS job basically nowadays requires you to have an AWS certification. The reason for that is how hiring managers, or that is how HRs who are recruiters basically differentiate you from a non AWS professional. So the way people shortlist resumes on Naukri or any other job portal these days is by typing in keywords. So they type in AWS certified to basically filter out people who know AWS. So why do you need certifications? You need certifications to have better job prospects in the AWS domain. Second thing is, you might be in a comfortable place right now and you might be thinking what to do next, right? So skilling yourself up with the cloud domain or an AWS cloud provider such as AWS would do wonders to your career if you want to go ahead and become an architect at some time in your career, right? Or let's say you want to become a CTO in some time in your career. So with certifications, with the right certification and the right technologies, you can expect a better career growth. Third thing is for staying up to date. Now I have a lot of friends and I know a lot of people who must be among you also, who basically get certified just to stay up to date with all the technologies which are working in the world right now. It might be that you don't want to do a career change. It might be that you are an expert in that technology, but just to be up to date with all the technologies which are being used in the IT industry right now, just to be up to date with it, you do the AWS certification. And apart from that, also, guys, if we talk about cloud technology, if we talk about to the extent to which cloud is being used these days, I guess each and every IT professional or a person who works in the software industry should go ahead and learn cloud. And the reason for that is most of our technologies that we are using today is going to be on the cloud. If not today, it will be there tomorrow, right? So you need to learn about each and every cloud provider, understand its pros and cons in order to become a professional who understands which application should be deployed on which cloud, and so that when you become an architect you can also suggest it to companies. Having said that, now what is the AWS certification exactly, right? So we have discussed why it should be done, but what is it and how can you achieve it? Let's go ahead and discuss that. So an AWS certification is basically it's a certificate that you get from Amazon, right? So Amazon certifies you that in their technology you are basically proficient enough to that level of certification. Now, when I say level of certification, there are various levels in AWS. You have associate, you have professional, you have specialty certifications. But let's not get into that as of now. We'll do that later. But basically, what AWS certifies you is that you are proficient in their technology up to the level of the exam that you are giving, right? And there are various roles also to which they provide certification for. For example, they provide for architect, they provide for developers, they provide for system admins as well, right? So based on your profile, based on your experience, they give you a certification that yes, based on your job profile, you can do all the work that you do in your company, in your profile, on AWS as well. That's what they certify you for, right? And for getting a certification, what you have to do is you have to write an exam. So AWS, how it certifies you is by giving you an exam, and if you are able to pass that exam, they certified you with their certificate. And what they tell you in that certificate, like I said, is that you are proficient in that particular profile. Now, what are the different categories of AWS certification, or what are the different profiles which AWS basically tests you on, right? So you have first level 1. So level 1 is a foundational certification, and this foundational certification is basically very generic. So it will be like, can you use AWS? If you say yes, then this foundational certification is something that you should be able to crack. Okay, foundational certification does not test you on specific services. It tests a generic awareness of the AWS ecosystem, and if you're good with that, you can go ahead and do the foundational certification. Now this certification is optional, right? Because most of the people that I know, they don't actually go for the foundational certification. But let's say you are a person who is from the support background, or if you are a person who is uh, let's say looking for a job where they are asking for an AWS certification, but you don't know much about AWS. So you can try your hand at the foundational certification, which will not ask you much. It will just ask you about general awareness, which is required while you're working with AWS. Now, this is level 1. Now you go ahead, and there is level 2 also, which is basically the associate certification. Now this is where the game starts, right? Now this is a certification that you will need to be certified in before you can go to level 3. Passing level 1 is not mandatory. You can skip foundational certification, but if you want to go step by step also, and you're new to AWS and you want to start learning it, I'd recommend you go ahead with the foundational certification, so you also get an idea what are the types of questions which are basically asked. Now, when you reach to level 2, then we are basically talking about associate certifications. Now, what are associate certifications? Associate certifications basically tell you that you are proficient enough to do a particular job of the specific certification that you're doing. For example, like I said, in associate you have three kind of certifications. You have solutions architect, you have developer, and then you have system administrator. So all these three certifications, any of which that you get certified in, AWS certifies that you are perfect fit for that particular job that you get certified on. It could be a solutions architect, could be a sysops, or could be a developer certification. But the game does not end here, right? So this is an associate certification where someone says probably a junior architect or a junior developer or a junior admin you can become. But let's say you're already working in AWS, you have this kind of experience. Now you want to go ahead in the career as well when you talk about AWS. So there's level 3. Now level 3 are professional certifications. Now professional certifications are for people who know AWS already, who are working in a job profile which involves AWS skills, but now you want to go to the next level. You want to become probably an architect of a company or a CTO of a company, or probably you want to head the cloud team. So in that case, you will be basically focusing on the professional certification, and the kind of profiles that we have in professional certifications are two. One is the DevOps engineer profile, and second is the solutions architect professional profile, right? So as the name suggests, if you want to become probably become a team lead of a DevOps team, you can go ahead and get yourself certified in DevOps engineer certification. Or let's say you want to become a head architect, or let's say you want to become an architect of the all the software components which are there in a company or a team, then you can actually target the professional certification. Now I would like to reiterate what I said over here. Now when I say you want to become a architect of a company, right, and you want to glance at what all each software component is doing and how it should be structured, right? Only having a professional certification will not guarantee you that job. You also need to have the required experience which is required for that particular certification. For example, you would need around 5 to 10 years of experience in the technology domain, so that you understand each and every technology perfectly, right? But with a professional certification, you also get a nod from AWS that yes, this guy has the required experience to become an architect, especially in the AWS domain. Then after this you have level 4 also, which is basically the specialty certification. Now this specialty certification is a little different from the associate and professional certification. Specialty focuses on a particular uh, particular domain inside AWS as well. For example, it could be just big data services, or it could be just networking services. So which services you want to, or it could be also security services that you want to get your specialty on. So for example, you have cybersecurity engineers, right? You have computer network engineers. So if you are a person who's a network engineer and who wants to pursue his network profile, and he just wants to be inside network only, AWS offers you a certification where you can show off your skills in networking on the AWS domain by doing a specialty certification of a network engineer as well. Similarly, you have it for big data. Similarly, you have it for security as well, right? Moving along, so these were the levels of certifications that you can do, right? So I told you foundational is an optional certification that you can do. Then you have the associate certification. If you don't do an associate certification, you cannot move on to professional. So this is a prerequisite which is there, right? And then you have professional certifications, which are basically uh, for a better career growth once you are an associate. And then you finally have the specialty certification, which are for hardcore people in a specific domain, for example big data, networking, security, etc. Now let's go ahead and talk about the types of AWS certification. So now we have defined the levels of AWS certification. Now let's discuss the types. So let's say you're a guy, and the first thing that you would be doing when you start off with AWS is you would go ahead and do the foundational certification. But like I said, it's optional. If you want to do, you can go ahead. This particular certification will probably give you tech support roles, or yeah, so it is good for tech support roles who are newly budding into the cloud domain. This is good for the foundational certification is for that. But let's say if you are aiming higher, you can go ahead and do associate certifications, wherein you have certified solutions architect, certified developer, certified sysops administrator. So as a certification point of view, these do not have any prerequisites, right? But in order to crack these certifications, I would suggest that you need to have some IT background, right, or some Linux knowledge, to basically, because these certifications are hands-on based. These are not theoretical certifications, right? So if you have done hands-on only, then you would be able to answer the questions that the exam is going to ask in these kind of certifications, right? So if you're not doing any hands-on, and if you're just reading books, you're just reading about services, these certifications will actually not be cracked. So you need a hands-on exposure in all the services that you're learning, and then only you can touch or crack these associate certifications. And these certifications basically serve as a prerequisite to the professional certifications. For example, let's say if you want to become a DevOps engineer, you want to become a professional DevOps engineer, then either of these three associate certifications you can have. Either you should be an associate solutions architect, or a developer associate, or a sysops associate. Sysops is nothing but system administrator. So if you are a sysops associate only, then you can go ahead and do the DevOps engineer profile. Now, if you want to become a solutions architect professional, the only prerequisite is, and the only thing which will work is, the certified solutions architect associate. So let's say you are a certified developer. You cannot appear for a professional certified solutions architect certification, because the prereq for that is that you need to be a certified solutions architect associate. Only then you can apply for certified solutions architect professional certification, right? But if you want to become a DevOps engineer, any of these three will work. Similarly, when you move along, you have specialty certifications as well. Now, these again don't have any prereqs, right? But then, let's say if you are from the big data domain and you want to implement it on AWS, so you should be specialized in all the big data services which are there in AWS, and this is the exam which is going to test you on that. Similarly, we have advanced networking, and then we have security. So if you're good with networking and also the networking services in AWS, you can opt for going to this particular certification. Or let's say you are in the security domain and you're good with the security services in AWS, you can go ahead and opt for this specialty certification, right? So these are all the different certifications. Now let's go ahead and do a deep dive into each of these certifications by first discussing which certification is for you, right? So which certification is for you in case of foundational? So a foundational guy would basically be a guy who is an entry level professional into the AWS domain, right? And if you want to apply for tech support jobs, then this kind of certification will help you. The second kind of certification is the associate certification, and there are no prerequisites for this kind of certification. Like I said, if you want, you can skip foundational, and it basically tells the recruiter that whatever profile you got the certification in, that is solutions architect, developer, or administrator, you're proficient in becoming one, right? And because you've cracked it, it will also guarantee that you also have had hands-on exposure to all the services which were basically asked in the exam, right? So this is what associate certification is for, and this should basically be targeted by people. uh, let's say if you are if you want to become an architect in the future, then you should go for solutions architect, right? If you are already a developer and you want to still continue as a developer, then you should opt for the developer certification. Now what it will test you on is, let's say you develop an app, right? So let's say the data that you are basically, you're asking for some images in that app. So if those images have to be stored on AWS, you will have to use the required SDKs so that you can upload it on the AWS infrastructure. Now, AWS developer certification basically checks your knowledge on these SDKs that are involved, right? And if you are able to use those SDKs, then you can get the AWS certified developer certification. Similarly, a sysops administrator should know how to administer an architecture which has already been developed, right? How to maintain it, how to do routine maintenance tasks. So of all these things you're proficient in the AWS services, you can become a sysops administrator. Now, there might be some friends over here of mine who are neither an administrator nor a developer, nor are they an architect, and they want to basically switch to the AWS domain and want to become a cloud professional in the future. So for you guys, I would recommend the solutions architect profile, because that does not expect you to do coding, that does not expect you to know hardcore Linux, but what it basically would expect you to know, and that you will learn while you're learning for that certification, is how to design architectures, resilient architectures for applications that are developed by your company, right? How to deploy them on AWS is something that you will be learning. So for those people, I would recommend the solutions architect certification. So we were talking about the associate level. So for associate level, there are no prerequisites, like I said. You can go ahead and apply for the associate certification for these three profiles: solutions architect, developers, and sysops administrators, based on the criteria that I just told you, right? Then the next certification that you have is the developer certification. So developer certification, like I said, it will check your debugging skills, it will check your SDK knowledge, right? There are no prerequisites to this, but this should basically be opted by people who are already developers and are wanting to develop on AWS service and would like to get certified in these, right? The third kind of certification that you have is the sysops administrator certification. Now these are for people who are already administrators, right, and now want to skill up their skills by moving on to the AWS domain, right? So this will check your skills of doing maintenance tasks, this will check your Linux skills, and if you're good with them, you would be able to crack this certification. The next role that we have is the professional uh, role in these certifications, right? So you have the AWS certified solutions architect professional. The prereq for this is that you should have the associate level solutions architect certifications, otherwise you will not be able to appear for this kind of a certification exam, right? And this should be done by people who are either junior architects in a company, or people who have the architect certification, are architects, but still want to have a certification so that next time when they do a job change, then they can have more credibility in their resume. So this should be basically opted for those kind of people, right? So if you are already an associate solutions architect, go ahead, become a professional solutions architect. You can read about how to become one by going through the exam guide, which I will also talk about in a little while, right? Now, the second kind of professional certification that we have is the AWS Certified DevOps Professional Certification, which basically asks for a prerequisite of either being a developer or a SysOps admin or a solutions architect. And this should be done by people who are basically looking out as a DevOps engineer who want to become a DevOps engineer in a particular company, right? And DevOps engineer obviously is a very senior profile. You can expect a CTC of around starting from 10 to even 30 lakhs per annum in the DevOps engineer domain, right? So if you want to become a profile like that, and obviously the CTC you get is based on how much you know, right? But the gateway to that is by having this certification, which is the DevOps Engineer Professional Certification by AWS. Okay. The next kind of certifications are the specialty certifications. For example, you have the Big Data Specialist, which will basically check your knowledge on big data and how to solve the problem of big data using AWS services. And as a part of prerequisites for this, you can either have a cloud practitioner certification or any associate level certification, right? So there is no prerequisites as such, but if you are a cloud practitioner, so that will help you in becoming a specialist, because a practitioner would basically certify that you have a general awareness of the AWS services, and then once you have that, you can actually appear for specialist certification, so that you don't have to get into all the services that AWS has to offer in terms of, so that you don't have to go ahead and uh, get into all the big data certifications, right? Or all these solutions architect services you don't have to know, you just have to know the specific big data services which are there. And as a cloud practitioner, you just have to know about on the generic awareness of AWS. Okay, so this is about the specialist certification of big data. Second one that you have is a network specialist. Now, in this again, you just have to have the cloud practitioner service certification, right? And once you have the cloud practitioner certification, you just have to know the services that are required as a network engineer in AWS. You don't have to know all the services, right? So if you want to become a network specialist, just get to know or just get to appear for the cloud practitioner exam and then move on to your specialist certification. Similarly, when we talk about the security specialist certification, you just have to appear for the cloud practitioner and then just show off your skills of your security domain in the AWS services, and only then you can go ahead and become a security specialist guy in AWS. Okay. Now, moving forward, guys. Now I just told you about how you can go ahead and appear for certifications. Now, let me just go ahead and tell you guys how you can know what all to prepare for in a certification. So, just uh, type in AWS certifications on Google. The simple search will basically give you results like these, right? Now just go to the AWS certification page, and here you can see you have an option of scheduling an exam, and then you have an option of preparing for an exam. So let's say you are done with the preparation, you can go ahead and schedule an exam, and you can pick a date that you want to appear for. Since now you want to prepare for an exam, let's go down, and these are the services which are there, right? So as you can see in specialist, they have also added now Alexa skill builder and machine learning specialty, which is good. So this I think is recently added now, which again basically points to if you're a machine learning engineer and want to become AWS certified in all the machine learning services that AWS offers, you can go for this certification. And let's say if you Amazon has its own device, which is the Alexa device. It's an IoT device. So if you're building skills for that and you are in a job profile wherein you just develop Alexa skills, so for that also you can get a certification in the specialty domain. Okay, coming back to the point. Now, let's say you want to become an AWS Solutions Architect Associate, right? So just click on over here. You will get this tab, and over here you will get the option of download the exam guide. So either you can so obviously you will download the exam guide, which will basically be this, right? And the second thing you can also do is you can also have a look at the sample questions which will be asked in the exam, right? So this is how the exam guide looks like. So you have the recommended AWS knowledge. So here you can find out all the things that you have to learn in order to crack this exam, right? Also, you also get a breakup of all the things that you have to learn and how much of it will be asked in the exam. For example, how to design resilient architectures, 34% of your questions would be about that. Performant architectures, 24% of your questions would be about that, right? So all these domains you will have to learn, and what to learn on all these domains, these are the things which are mentioned over here, right? Now looking at these, you will not understand as to what exactly are the services that you should target. There are 130 plus services in AWS, but which one should you target in order to crack this exam? You will not get an idea from here. So for that, we have done the homework for you. So let me just go to Intellipaat.com, right? And before going on, now this is true for each and every certification which is there. For example, let's so I just was talking about solutions architect. Let's talk about sysops administrator. So I'll click here. You'll get a sysops page listed here. Then again, you'll have to download the exam guide. Now this is the required skills for becoming a sysops administrator. These are the domains, right? And in these domains, these are the things that you have to learn. But you will not know exactly which services to target. So what you can do is, you can just go ahead, go to Intellipaat.com, go to AWS, let's say solutions architect, right? Just search for this particular course, and then over there we have mentioned our course content, right? Let's say this is the solutions architect course. So this is the course content that we basically offer, right? And these will basically give you an idea about specifically what you have to learn. For example, we have listed, we're teaching you EC2 in the first module, then we're teaching you about storage volumes, then we're teaching you about auto scaling, load balancing, VPC, S3, and then databases, then management and application services, IAM, right? And then about configuration management using Opsworks and CloudTrail. So if you go through these, you will get to know exactly the services that you have to learn, and that would be it for the certification that you want to crack. Similarly, we also offer a course on sysops. We also offer a course on developer. You can just go ahead, check out the skills, and those are all the things that you want to learn. Now, for some of you who think you need help in us learning you these things, making you learn these things, you can also have an option of enrolling in a course with us. So you can go ahead, enroll in a course with us, and we have industry professionals who are already AWS certified, who are working as architects, working as developers, working as system administrators, who are going to teach you, right? These are not trainers, these are already people who are working as professionals in top MNCs, and these are the trainers that we hire who are going to teach you their skills that they have learned throughout the experience that they have, right? And we come in by controlling the course content over here, right? So this is the course content that we have created, which the trainers will be teaching you from, and that is how you will get prepared for your certification exam. We also conduct mock interviews. We also give out your resumes to companies that we are tied up with, so that you get the right job opportunities that you are looking out for, right? So this is it about Intellipaat, guys. We like I said, if you want to prepare on your own, you can just go through all the course content here, prepare for these, and if you feel you need a little help, you can always come back to us, and you can just call us on these numbers. Even if you need a little guidance, we'd be happy to answer you, or answer all your queries which are regarding the AWS certification, right? And apart from that, guys, for all the people who are watching this video today, we also are giving out a 30% off on all our courses which are there on our website, especially for people who are watching this video today. So you just have to go ahead and type in the promo code YouTube30, and you would be eligible for that 30% off on our courses. So with that said, guys, I hope this session was useful to you. I hope you now know what you have to do in your career, right? And if you did like this video, please give us a like, right? Also subscribe to our channel for more such videos, and also comment down any queries that you have, or just for appreciating this session. All right, so thank you all for joining in today. I'll see you in some other session. Have a great day ahead, and goodbye.